Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get some more. Have it in. Some more. Let's get some more.
Well, hello, and welcome to My Whiskey Den, your favorite public access whiskey review show where craft whiskey is king. And today we are lucky enough to have Colonel Steve with us from the ABV Network. Thank you for stopping in. Before we go much further, and we forget because I do this every now and then, Ben, what do we usually tell our lovely guests at this point?
You're watching the show. You know you're going to like it. So hit that like button, make a comment, share, subscribe, hit that bell so you know when it's coming on.
Excellent. And Mike actually has a little more background with Steve because he has done some of the tastings with him. And I'm gonna pass the baton at this moment. I'm gonna step to the background today, so the Rambler will not be rambling as much as he usually does.
Oh, we'll see about that. So all right. So we have Colonel Steve Akley, a real Kentucky Colonel, with us tonight. He's the owner of ABV Network, a publisher, a movie maker, and lately, since everything went to hell in March, a lot of things have had to change. And Steve has changed his business in a way that has been beneficial for those of us who are wanting to get more out of what we love so much, which is whiskey, and still have been able to carry on some of the things he did before, but actually build upon that. And that's one of the things that we really want to talk about, that because Steve and his crew have built a community that is very like-minded people, a very nice community. And as opposed to we've all seen other ones online where it's maybe not as fun, and they've got a pretty fun crew, and a pretty good group of people that are all part of it. So, I do want to start asking you, Steve, what is your whiskey origin story?
I mean, I'm just a guy who always liked bourbon. I mean, I'm, grew up in a family that didn't really drink, but would do the holiday drinking thing. So we're talking, 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving. My parents would host parties, and they would mix cocktails up for that. They never drank whiskey neat or anything like that, but the cocktails were always bourbon based. And that's what I grew up around, and I would, occasionally sneak a taste of bourbon, and I liked it even as a young man. I liked it. So when I started drinking in college, I wasn't a beer fan because my dad also didn't even like beer. And I never liked it. I tasted it a couple times. I didn't like it, so I just drank Jim Beam White Label and Coke, and that's what I continued to do until probably 2000 when they had opened up the Bourbon Trail, and I went early on in the Bourbon Trail, right around 2000. Went and toured the distilleries. I think there were 7 at that time that were on the trail, including Buffalo Trace at that time, and went to those distilleries and loved it and fell in love with the process and the history, and then really started the journey that I'm on now.
So, I know you mentioned bourbon. Do you ever get into Scotch or Irish?
No, I to me, they're definitely not my thing. I don't have anything against them, and I can't say that I hate all of them. I'm definitely not a peated or smoked guy, so that eliminates a lot of the Scotch. Though you can say, well, I can find one for you. I get that, and there's some that I've tried and liked okay, and then Irish whiskey just tends to feels a little soft to me. I don't know. It's just kind of a one note. When I drink bourbon, I get all these different flavors and it's just a different experience, and that's what I really like. So it's not that I dislike the other two; it's just I like bourbon so much. I think that I focus on that almost exclusively.
So what's your daily drinker with the choices that you've got? Do you still go back to your old standard, or do you float around a little bit?
No, I definitely float around almost all the time. I mean, I don't have one that stands out really above the others. It's my mood. What do I feel like at that time? And I've got a collection of open bottles that's about 600, so there's always plenty of options to choose from, and that's what I like to do.
So can you tell us about what made you start the ABV Network, and then about all the different branches of ABV Network?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a guy who likes to keep busy, and I initially, I mean, I was a corporate guy when I started all of this, and it really, the story really starts with the loss of my father. So he died 12/12/12. So that's a day that's burnt in my mind. And my dad was a date guy too, which is weird that he would pass away on that date, because he always, like, I know he retired to the police from 9990 because he just was a guy who liked, unusual dates.
Yeah.
But I had lunch with my father on 12/12/12, and he left. He came to my corporate job and picked me up, and we had lunch, and he went home, and he was supposed to go out with some friends that evening. My mom was out Christmas shopping with my Aunt Debbie, and unfortunately he had a heart attack, and my mom came home. He was passed out, and ambulance came and revived him, but he had a second heart attack on the way to the hospital, so we lost him that day. And it was a tough thing, man. A heart attack, any way you lose a family member is tough, but and I can't say one's more difficult than the other, but each has its challenges. And the heart attack was he's just gone. I mean, he was someone who was there, his usual self. We had a nice talk that day as always, and then no idea something like that's going to happen, and then he's just gone. So that changed me a lot. I had that corporate job, and I just realized I needed to prioritize my life. So I just hated the job. I never did like the job, but I realized stupid things like titles and falling in line because the boss tells you to do something even when it doesn't make any sense. I just decided I would never do that again, and I stopped doing that. And I made it a few more years, but at the same time, I started to write, and I found success writing a book about bourbon. I wrote, like, because I always wanted to be a writer, but I always was afraid to do it. When I started writing, I just self-published, which means I could write 3 books a month, and I was doing that like at that clip. I just had so much pent-up writing energy. I just started writing, and nothing was successful, but I didn't care. To me, it was about getting it out there. I've got something that's out there. It's on Amazon. So if no one's buying it, I don't care. I don't write. I don't do things because I want people to do it. I do what interests me. And that's still been what drives me to do everything that I do. So with the loss of my father, started writing. And when that bourbon book that I had hit, it ended up being #1 on Amazon in 2015, top-selling book. If you would not Google, but you would search Amazon in 2015 around the holidays, the third thing that came up was my book, a self-published book by a guy no one's ever heard of. It amazes me. Over every other book of all these famous authors that are still around today writing about bourbon, my book was ahead of almost everything in bourbon. It was the top book and the third thing overall. So
that's going to be some pretty nice validation for writing the book.
Yeah. The funny thing was, I was on this tremendous clip though, where I was writing. I was already 2-3 books down the road. I was already had other things published. So I had to take a step back and realize, man, what I loved most, in the world after family and my life and things like that was bourbon. And there was interest out there. So that turned me on, where I decided I wanted to be bourbon focused from that point forward. And that's pretty much what I've done since. I would ultimately lose that corporate job. Again, kind of a bad attitude and things like that. It caught up to me. Losing your job, even when you hate the job, is tough. Because I had a daughter who was a sophomore in college, my idea was I was saving enough money to, as soon as she graduated, I was going to leave that place. They didn't allow me to get to that point. They let me go. But at the same time, the good thing about a corporate job, as bad as they are, they kick you out the door with a nice little golden parachute. So I had about 9 months where I could try to find another job or try to make it in bourbon. And I tried to make it in bourbon. And luckily, career-wise, I haven't had to look back since.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So when you started, because you've done, it's 2 documentaries now, or am I?
Yes, 2 documentaries.
So what started that kicking into doing the video?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, my goal is to do everything there is to do in bourbon. A syndicated radio show, and I want to be on satellite radio doing a show, and all these things. And do I know how it's going to happen? I have no idea. But I didn't know how I was going to make movies either. So one day, a guy by the name of Bo Cumberland reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm a filmmaker. I make movies about moonshine." And so I never heard of Bo, and I looked up and watched a couple of his movies, and I thought, production is really good. Why would he spend that sort of time and effort on moonshine, which is really, I mean, bourbon's small. In reality, and bourbon is actually a pretty tiny little thing. I mean, if you tell most of your friends, the ones that you've got way more non-bourbon friends than you have bourbon friends. So to focus on moonshine, I asked, well, why don't you do things on bourbon? It's a growing market. It's much bigger than moonshine. He said, oh, I don't know anybody in bourbon. And I said, you do now, man. So I shot him over a script I had already written. Again, I didn't know I was ever going to make a movie, but I wrote a script just because I wanted to do it. I said, I've got an idea. It's called Kindred Spirits. It's about 7 craft distilleries and telling their story, because every bourbon movie I've ever seen is the big guys. It's the same big companies telling the same stories. What if we had the little guys who I know have great stories because I'm friends with them? And that's what we did, and it was some of the most fun I had shooting movies. Man, it's surreal that actually can be kind of your job. I don't know, man. It's fun. It's rewarding. I mean, you're creating entertainment for people, which I don't know. They give you their time, which to me is your greatest resource, and the fact that they look to you to entertain them, I don't know. That's one of the greatest feelings in the world.
Yeah,
So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I love the fact that part of the stuff that you do, one of the sections is looking into craft whiskey like we do, because I know there was, even just this year, there's 1 or 2 distilleries that I didn't know about that all of a sudden, I don't want to say we jumped on the bandwagon of, but I got to taste their stuff and I was like, yes, we found another great craft distillery that we can help spread the story about, kind of like you were doing. Yeah. I really enjoy that, because you're 2 steps further than we are. We know a little about Kentucky. You know the little people in Kentucky. Like, I know you guys. Like, I'm sipping on a Neely right here. I didn't know about them before. I would love to go see Royce and that distillery now, and especially some of the other moonshine courses and stuff you're doing there. It just blows my mind with how in depth you're getting into some of the subcategories. That's all. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it's fun to me. I never wanted to focus on just the big guys, and I love the big guys. I love big whiskey. That's great, but the craft, they do things a little bit differently. And matter of fact, the big companies end up stealing a lot of their ideas anyway. So cut out the middleman and just go to craft and see what they're doing that the big guys will be doing the next year. So I'm just a fan of bourbon in general, and I just like good distillery. If you see a distillery on our network more than one time, it means to me that they're committed to it and that they do things the right way. And we invite those type of people back again and again and again, because they're doing something that's special. I mean, we'd have anybody. We'd like to hear anybody's story, but we really focus on the ones that we believe in, and we know they're doing a great job.
So all the people that you've met in the industry, and ones, which I'm sure there's going to be plenty more that you're going to be meeting. Is anyone that you still get excited or even a little nervous to see every time, even though you've been around them a few times?
I mean, I at the end of the day, the thing that I never want to lose is I always want to be a fan. So I come in with no attitude. I don't know. People for some reason think that I do have an attitude. I don't. Man, I get lit up every time I see a Fred No or a Freddie No. Or, gosh, when you used to walk in the distillery and Jimmy Russell was there, man, there's nothing better in the world than walking in and seeing Jimmy Russell sitting there at the table. My God, it gives you goosebumps to think about the stuff that he knows, the people that he knows, what he represents, being in the job for more than 65 years, and the people that he knew when he was a young man. It just reaches so deep into whiskey history that, those type of individuals, always kind of get you going for sure.
And we're kind of in an interesting time, because I'm 50, and I don't know a time when I didn't see Wild Turkey, on there, and I didn't know a time where you didn't see Jim Beam, but the distillers they're becoming more celebrities themselves, the head distillers, and kind of rock stars, but we're watching somebody like Freddie No, like we're watching him put out his sophomore album right now. And it's like we're seeing this guy do this and going, he has he's got an unlimited future in front of him, and it's not because anything's handed to him.
Right.
But we're in a really good time because we get to watch this and watch him and do that. And I think it's, I know you've got a friendship with him, and which I think is very envious, but to see him do that and him talk about, we're building the craft distillery, we're going to do this. And you're like, you are going to knock this out of the park.
He is a once-in-a-generation distiller. He's young in his career, so people have a problem with you heaping those type of accolades on him, but I do know him on a personal basis, and I do know that that's not even what's required of him in his job. If he came to Jim Beam every day and just showed up and then went out and worked the dinner circuit and was a speaker, they would be happy with him, and it wouldn't make a difference of what Beam Suntory thought of him. But that's not who he is. He works as hard as every one of my craft distilling buddies, the people that are responsible for everything on the job. Freddie has to do all that too. Plus, he navigates through this corporate hierarchy that, I had to deal with. He has a corporate job, whether it seems like it or not. He's got to deal with all that stuff too. So Freddie No is probably, to me, the most special person in bourbon, and he's going to do huge things. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface what Freddie No is going to do in this industry. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and you'd had on one of your virtual tastings. I got to be on one with Freddie, and I was absolutely floored by his just his knowledge of the history of Jim Beam itself. I mean, the family history, and him saying, I've got their old farmers' almanacs, and I've got this, and I was combing through this, and he's just rattling all this stuff off. And like you said, he doesn't have to do that.
No,
but because he knows that, like he is thinking like, okay, with the craft distiller, I could make a craft Jim Beam because I know how they did it. Like literally, he knows every single thing of how they did it and why it was done a certain way. And like one of the tastings was, well, why was Old Beam? Why did it taste like this? And he pretty much had the answers for it. I mean, because it wasn't just, they made things a little differently. He knew why it was different, and he knew it was just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's way smarter beyond his years, but it's just because he's something that's always interested him. There's just some people that are different. He was a 7-year-old boy wanting to know about whiskey from his grandfather, growing up, and that's like my buddy Royce Neely. He's the same way. He's 28 years old, but he's a prodigy. But he always was interested in that stuff. Yeah. Even as a kid, I never, had that sort of laser focus on anything. I was an idiot. But there are some people that just focus on these things, and it's just they're special. And Freddie's definitely, without a doubt, one of those guys. But like my buddy Royce, he's the same thing. And there's others I'm friends with too that are just amazing.
And along that line, we did have a guest that just popped in here for a second. I know he wanted to say hi, so we're gonna bring him on for a second.
Okay.
Oh,
the Alan Bishop.
Oops, hold on.
Steve, I'm like herpes, man. I never go away, and I ruin everything good.
How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. I just wanted to step in and wasn't gonna let him have you on here and not have one of your cohorts alongside you for a second. Anyways, especially the one who gave us National Alan Bishop Day, the greatest gift that was ever given to me in my entire life to use against Big Red, aka that's right. Solidarity through sarcasm. It's a movement. It's a hashtag. It's a way of life.
That got out of control quick. That was not it. To be honest with you, I had no idea that's how that was going to go down. But
you see the screen name. I'm going with it now. The Shockmaster. We had guests again today at the distillery, and I even got them in on the shocker. There will be pictures posted later. It's now a
thing. You say that, and Jolie's in the back now going, I scrubbed this out. Just hazing things over as you speak right now.
Right. Without a doubt. So no, it's awesome to see you guys all together in the same circle, because this is kind of our kind of circle of people, And to hear you guys and see you guys communicating back and forth is really cool. And to see those two sides kind of come together and then unifying the bourbon world that much more by having Akley be a part of this and you guys be a part of this with Akley. That's awesome. That's what this whole thing's all about.
Yeah.
So
Who doesn't want to drink with a Kentucky Colonel? That I didn't even know what it was properly until like 5 minutes before the show, so I looked like an ass. It was great.
Yeah, he was asking me what branch of the military.
Yes.
Well, you do get the accolade. You get to use honorable in front of your name now. So
True.
you know, you got to get that on your business card. The Honorable Steve Akley.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
You guys may not know this too, and I'm gonna throw this out there as a quick story because I think you'll enjoy this. But Steve Akley is he's such an iconic character that there are other whiskey industries other than just bourbon trying to emulate Steve Akley. So there is a Canadian Steve Akley.
Oh, yes.
He does exist. I've seen him. He looks exactly like Steve Akley, and he even wears the Hawaiian shirts, but they're not Tommy Bahama. That's the thing.
Knockoff Tommy Bahamas. That's what you got.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like calling a Canadian whiskey, from a bourbon mash.
It was the weirdest thing. The guy had on a hat, like I got wears a hat. He had on goggles. I wear goggles instead of regular glasses. The guy had all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. We saw him in Key West. Alan's the one who spotted him.
Yeah, I thought they ditched me. I thought I was standing out on the street. They were inside in the bar, and I was smoking a cigarette. I was standing on the street, and I looked up, and I saw on this veranda across the street, I saw this guy. I'm like, what the hell is Akley doing over there? Did these guys ditch me at this fucking bar?
They had this private balcony thing, and we walked up through there, and I think they're getting ready to stop us. But when the guy saw me, it was Alan and I go up there. When he saw me, they just all burst out laughing, all of his entire party, and then they started taking pictures of the two of us together. And
there were initially no words exchanged whatsoever, just smiles and laughs.
That was a wild one for sure.
What's the chances we'll find a Canadian Alan Bishop though?
I would say pretty good. I think that's not that far fetched. There's definitely some dumbass hillbilly up in northern Canada, living off of goat meat and just not even cooking it, just doing his thing. Give me another 5 years, I'll be up there like a fat Wolverine. It's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, you're gonna come with us to Key West when we go down there, guys. And that's where Alan and I. A lot of our stories come from that. We hung out there last January before all this stuff started. And yes, we want to make it a yearly thing. So I don't know about next year. We're gonna do something a little low key. We wanted to make it a big thing because it was so much fun, but we'll go low key again this coming year, and then hopefully maybe we'll be back to normal. We could do a big event the year after that.
No, that sounds cool. We were looking at doing something like that too, kind of. I don't want to say like a viewer appreciation, but if we're going to do something fun and anyone out there wants to join, we'll be in Kentucky on whatever day to whatever day, and we'll make stuff happen, or we can go on some tours together or something. But no, that would be cool. I haven't been down to Key West in a very, very, very long time, so I would be happy to go back.
Yeah,
Alan, you just don't strike me as a Key West kind of guy. How did you fare down there?
Yeah, the time of
I don't seem like a fucking people person to you.
I mean,
no, I think you would enjoy the freedoms that Florida has. Like, you can't be convicted of anything, but aside from that,
Well, luckily I had a support base there, which included Steve Akley and his group of hooligans. But I will tell you that my view of Key West is like, if the world is going to end, that's the perfect place to go. You just go there and watch people. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. You just drink and you watch dumb people all day long, and it's glorious. It's fucking glorious. As a matter of fact, ever since I went to Key West, and I got to thank Akley for getting me to go down there, I wake up every day not feeling as bad about myself as I did before I went. Because I feel like it could be so much worse. So much worse.
Yeah. Bishop got in the pool one night about 11 o'clock at night. He's lit, of course. He's in the pool, and then he's like, I'm just gonna put my pants over the rail to dry them out. And I'm like, wow, I know from the lore and legend is that Bishop doesn't wear underwear. And I'm like, does he go into his room, take off those pants, come back out and put them over the banister, or does he just take off the pants and then walk into his room? Yeah, he would be.
I was pretty drunk at that point, so you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
At least you didn't have a fight with the door at that point. Trying to get the key in.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time, and it's always fun when you're around the ABV Network crew. They're always a lot of fun, and you guys would fit right in with most of those guys, even the ones that aren't on shows in particular. You know, the legend Rick Brenner for sure is a guy you got to sit down with and have. I would say a drink, but it's not going to stop at a drink. It's going to be a lot of drinks.
We don't stop at a drink either, Alan. You know that.
Yeah. Steve has put together a hell of a crew, and all that St. Louis group, and then the ones outside of them as well. But that St. Louis group is just, they're just good people. They're just damn good people. That's all there is to it. So, and you know, Steve has been a good inlet to introduce craft distillers like myself or Roy Sneely or you know, Adam Stump. Adam probably would have known him before we did, obviously having a distillery where he does, but to introduce us to that group of people. And there's been more come from those individual friendships from the ABV network than there's been from any distributor that we've ever had or any real other outlet whatsoever. Because those guys, you know, once you're, it's like a scooter gang. That's what it is. It's not a motorcycle gang. It's like a scooter gang, right? Under 30cc scooter gang. But they spread the word. They spread the word.
We actually had that at my wedding. The day after my wedding, like 50 people rented mopeds and like took over the streets of Las Vegas where they were driving around at like 20 miles an hour.
Well, we joked about doing that next time we went to Key West. We got to get a scooter gang together, rent scooters. We got to get patched in, do the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm down for that for sure. But yes, it should be you know, an amazing time. So hopefully you guys can make it. I'd love to see you there. It's the weather there is just like nowhere else in the U.S. So it was shorts the whole time. I mean, it was 80s. So in January, it was snowing in St. Louis. So nice.
Yeah.
Mike and I know that feeling, but Ben sadly does not, being from the south. No, you guys were talking about you're on one of the shows, am I right, Alan, of the ABV network?
Yeah. Steve was gracious enough. We got a show called Distillers Talk, and it's myself, Christy Atkinson, and Royce Neely, and it's been cool because Steve does, you know, Bourbon Daily and all that stuff, and you kind of get the introductory thing to people's personalities, like, you know, Freddie No, like you guys were talking about earlier. And then he has so many other shows. And Steve, I honestly don't even know how many shows you guys have on the ABV Network. I know you guys always have content. There's always something every single day. Mm-hmm. But what's cool is each one of those shows is catered to something slightly different. And Steve knows that I'm a distilling dork, you know, and there's 5 people that'll listen to me ramble for an hour, but they're dedicated. They're 5 dedicated.
3 of them are here.
Right. So he gave us a show to do a little more in-depth technical distilling, you know, jump down the rabbit hole and expand even beyond bourbon a little bit and try to, you know, cross out through some of those different categories and lines and bring some other things into that and expand people's knowledge. And it's been a blast. And that's one thing that I'll give the ABV network. You know, you meet a lot of people that aren't necessarily the mainstream distillers, obviously. And then you start, as a distiller, you start to spark a friendship with them. And then once you get them on something like Distillers Talk, there's been times that I've had guys on Distillers Talk or gals on Distillers Talk, and I'm as in dark as anybody in the audience is listening to them, because I'm like, oh, now you're telling me some shit that I didn't know, and I wouldn't know if it weren't for that outlet. So that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And anyone who hasn't listened to that, definitely do. If you want to not only get it nerdy and you know, get really into the details about stuff, but you guys, like you said, you'll be talking with somebody and they'll say something and you could tell that you guys get excited. Like, whoa, hold on a second. It's like, oh, if you're getting excited about this has got to be fun. What's coming next?
Right.
And it's always a treat to listen to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we definitely appreciate the platform, and it's been a lot of fun for us, and it seems to have caught footing to where now, like, I've never been shy about like messaging somebody, you know, just like Steve, there's an opportunity, you know, but now it's a little more like it's verifiable because there's 20 something episodes. It's not just, you know, here's the dumb hillbilly from Indiana that runs a little distillery in the middle of nowhere, and makes fun of the secondary market, asking me to come on the show. Oh, this guy's associated with the ABV network. So it makes it a little more legit, I guess. Steve made a mistake. He gave me a backstage pass is what happened.
Well, we're happy to have you, man. That show is great. And we enjoy having you on the Bourbon Daily, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, is there any criteria for how you pick who you want to be on the show? Like Alan was talking there, you have a little bit different variant for like kind of a little bit different niches with each show, bourbon and blondes and other things like that. Are these just people you met that you picked up and you enjoyed talking to, or do they already kind of have a platform and you kind of absorb them because you like their style?
I mean, it's just a lot of different stories. So some are like that, where they've done some things and approached me. It just goes back to, I told you I had that successful book, and I thought I had made it then. I thought, wow, I had the best-selling bourbon book for Christmas of 2015. I thought, man, I could write for magazines, I could write for blogs, I could write for websites, and I sent out, I went down emails and did things, and I don't know, probably 300 or 400. I'm not kidding you, maybe 500, a lot. I contacted everybody I could and said, I'd like to, I'm a writer and I'd like to write for you, and here's what I've done. And the funny thing is, I didn't hear back from any of them, none. Not a FU, not that would no. I'm sorry, we're not hiring. I never even heard anything back. I guess I would have liked to even kick back that your message got rejected, but I got nothing. So I wanted to create a platform where if someone wants to blog, they want to write about, come to us. You can write for us, and you can write whenever you want. We've got a blogging team. You can join that. You want to write for a magazine? We've got Bourbon Zeppelin, an e-magazine. You can write for that. You want to come on a podcast? We'll give you a shot. And so our platform is, let's work with everyone who has a passion. And you know what? You might be surprised at what's out there. So, Alan mentioned Christy Atkinson, who came to us as a fan, but wanted to do some things. And she's blossomed into this great force in the bourbon industry in a very short time, just in the last year. So we have a venue that people can utilize that bring that passion. And that's a perfect example of that. She had the passion, but where do you go with that? What do you do? She was facing the same things I was. Where no one will give you a chance if you haven't done anything. So we give people that chance, and it paid off for us for sure.
Yeah, I do understand. Sometimes you got to elbow your way into things.
Yeah, just create your own world is what I do. just do your own thing. Yeah, and that's what I always say. That we just do what we're fans. Everything is written for bourbon fans, by bourbon fans. That's what we live by. We're fiercely independent. We don't want to be part of the that little cliquey group that is bourbon media. There's a cliquey group, and we're not in that. And they don't care about us, but we don't care about them either. So we do our own thing for sure, and that's what's worked out best for us.
So, all right. Speaking of doing your own thing, when you made the decision that you were going to do the virtual events, if you just talk about what made you start it, and then as it's gone on, because as I said before, I've been on a few of them, and I'm going to be on a few more of them coming up, and they've all been great. But what's gone well with them, and what hasn't gone well with that format, and what would you like it to be?
Yeah. So. Everything that we've done in that, and it seems like we've been doing it forever, but we've only been doing it, 6 months or something like that. I think our first ones were in April. So I was in New Orleans when the pandemic, really we took notice. So we were down there for the New Orleans Bourbon Festival, ended up getting canceled. We stayed down there. The group, all the ABV Network crew, we stayed down there, had fun, and enjoyed our time down there, and thought everyone's being super cautious, didn't know anything, kind of disconnected from the real world because we're in New Orleans having fun, starting early in the morning, going late at night. We didn't follow the news or anything like that. And then when we get back home, you come home to the grocery stores were literally cleaned out. People weren't going to work. It just in that week that we were gone, everything changed. And one of the things that changed too was my business. I started getting notices from sponsors of the shows that, hey, we had to lay off a lot of people, or our business has changed. We can't sponsor the shows anymore. Patreon is a big supporter of the network. Individuals that want to do, people losing their jobs or getting laid off or just even uncertain what's going on, that's, and I don't blame them. They had to make tough decisions. But I got on Patreon the day after we got back, and we don't have a huge. I think we've had 60 followers or 60 Patreon supporters, and we dropped down to like 40. Between the last one. So God, that's a hell of a hit. And live events. One of the things I do is Total Wine. I do 2 classes a month in St. Louis up until this point. And that was a steady stream of income for me because I knew how many people I could get in the class, and I knew that I could sell out in 2 different classes per month. Those all got canceled. As a matter of fact, they're still canceled. So most of my revenue was disappearing quickly, and I started doing some math with what the cash we have on hand and the cash that's coming in, and I'm telling you, it was 2.5 months is what I had, and I didn't want to quit. I would have done anything to keep it going, so I was like, maybe I get a home loan or something. But then we came up with this idea to try this Zoom, which I never even heard of until the pandemic. I never heard of Zoom. But it seemed we did some practice things just with our team. We did events with our team to see what this was, because I didn't know anything about it. I'm not as good as you do. This show you got here is fantastic. You got graphics. You're pulling people in. I don't know how to do any of that. I'm 50-something years old. I'm an old guy. But
I'm only 1 or 2 steps behind, so it's not great. I fought for a long time to make some of this work. There was a point where before StreamYard, I didn't want to do it because it got a little too in depth. Where I might as well have been a TV, a producer, and I'm like, I don't want to fucking be a producer.
Right.
I want to talk about whiskey. I don't want to be like have a whole keyboard and it was getting crazy.
Soundboard and all that. Yeah. So, when I realized that, we started doing the virtual events. They took off instantly. And then I even leaned on some friends and like Jason Bronner, Bourbon's Bistro, and Katie Garrett, who I knew their bars were struggling. I'm like, what can we do? And they're like, we're in trouble. We can't even. We're not open. We got barrel picks. Would you maybe do events around that? So that was literally some of the first things that we did. And you don't make a lot of money off of those. It's just they basically give you the price plus shipping, and then you get $5 a head or something like that for the effort. But it was helping out friends, and we sold a ton of tickets. I couldn't believe. So even at a very thin margin, it was like now we've got revenue coming back in. So then we started to just expand out. Let's get creative. We're creative people. Let's get creative with this. So we started doing dustings, and we started doing tastings, and does the age statement make a difference? And we send out the one with an age statement, one without. What about the export only stuff? What is that? Does that taste different than what they're selling? Just everything that you're curious about as a whiskey person. We said let's turn it into an event, and it's been great. We've grown our audience substantially over where we're at. It's had new people find us. It's strengthened the relationships with the people that we've got because they have so much interactive FaceTime with us. You get to be friends outside of what we're doing too. So it's just great.
It definitely grew the audience, and I know Jolie can speak to that as well. But like for us on the distillery side of things, Steve, I mean, it's always been like, since we've been involved with the ABV network, the number of people that come to the distillery that are part of the ABV network is always mind-boggling to me. Mm-hmm. But now this new thing has happened since the pandemic, which is people come in who are part of the ABV network, which I've never heard of before or seen before, and but they know who the hell I am. They know who you are. And the only problem is they introduce themselves as though I should know who they are, and I'm like,
you're seeing me. I don't see you when we're doing
it. Right.
So if they know you so well, what's the secret symbol? Yeah.
There's a couple of them. There's the secret symbol, and then there's the sigil that you use to actually summon Jolie from the depths of her lair. But you got to draw that at certain times of the day. There's a whole ceremony that goes along.
Alongside that. I thought that went along with the Halloween thing that just happened in the Blue Moon.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hope you brought a chicken to sacrifice.
A red chicken. In honor of ABV, while I get ready to pour this, try to get a good cork pop out of it.
Now, how do you guys choose some of the more craft distillers you guys have worked with? Is it just people you've gone out and kind of delved into, or is it like, I assume word of mouth, because even with just us, there's all of a sudden you're like, well, what about this place and that place? But you guys have found some really unique distilleries that are just kind of on the uptick. So is there any secret to finding some smaller craft distillers for people out there?
The secret sauce is just to get to know them, and if you know yourself what to look for, you see the people that are, checking the boxes, that are actually, about innovation and about dedicated to their craft, and not just talking that, but doing that. And then, Alan and Royce, knowing those guys, it's like you build upon that. So Royce Neely's a guy I met at a live event, was just couldn't believe his personal story, so started bringing him on shows right away. But he kept telling me to bring Alan on. You got to bring Alan Bishop on. You got to bring Alan Bishop on. And we're always busy. And we as a matter of fact, I turned over my email to Stephanie McNew, who I think is on this thing. So McNew does our email because we get so many requests to come on. I'm like, I can't deal with all that stuff. And I don't like telling people no. So she handles all that stuff, and then we work through and we figure out if someone really needs to know, we bring them on. But
well, thanks, Stephanie.
so McNew does a lot of that stuff, but yeah, you get other people. So Alan comes on, and Alan's great. He blows me away. I couldn't believe this guy with the stuff he's doing. And then just like him, and then he's like, hey, there's a guy you need to talk to. His name's Jason Fruits. So he, so you build upon too the contacts of your contacts, and you keep growing things that way, because they'll tell you who are doing things the right way that make a difference. And then sometimes it's just just luck. Glennie from out at Deerhammer, if you know Deerhammer Distilling, I had met him initially. They like the Colorado Craft Trail, whatever that is, reached out to us and said they were doing an event. Would we want to interview someone? And we said yes. And it turned out having us talk to Lenny, and then I got to know his story. And then I went out to Colorado and I met him, and I knew he was a great guy for the network. And he's in the heavy rotation now too. He's part of our regulars that come on all the time, and he does things different. He does things different than Alan and Royce. They're all unique, and they all do great things. They just do things in a different way. So it's cool to know a lot of different people.
Yeah, and if you're in with one of the small craft distillers that hopefully any one of us knows what we're doing. But we from our standpoint, we had the same thing Steve did, but on the other side, Steve's he wants to be in the media side, and we're on the production side. So when you're first starting up, if you're somebody like, me or Adam Stump or Royce or whoever on the smaller side of things, you certainly also have that fuck the existing bourbon media attitude as well, right? So, and we all stick together as sort of a little tribe. So we all try to help each other out. And so if one of us finds a platform, whether it's you guys or ABV, we're going to try to push you guys towards those people as well to try to bring them in and just keep expanding that on and on and on.
Yeah.
I just love your hatred for the basic media and advertising. I share it, and it makes me giggle every time I hear you start to bash it.
My hatred for everything in this world just grows daily. It feeds my existence, gentlemen. It really does. Like here lately, it's been the hour drive to work. It's usually podcasts, and now I've been listening to podcasts, and Dad's riding with me, and. But here lately, it's all been very contemplative. Like the podcast is playing, but it ain't going on in my head. It's just, fuck these motherfuckers. All of them. Really get your day going. Really get you pumped.
I want to know what whiskey comes out of that.
Hope I live long enough to see old man Alan Bishop. It would be hilarious.
the quick plug here, and I'll even make sure that you guys both sides get some profit from this. I'll tell you what whiskey comes out of that. Fucking Dave Mustaine needs to be listening to these shows. Fuck Metallica and that black and shit. Let's do some Megadeth bourbon.
There you go.
Because the closest thing Alan Bishop's ever going to get to Metallica money is Megadeth money.
I'm not against it. Hey, whatever event there is, I always want to go to them. So you just keep making stuff up, and I'll be happy to attend.
Well, Ben and I were talking a couple days ago, and we're like, Tool needs to get involved in the spirits industry, and not just doing wine. I think that'd be a hell of a collaboration to get you in there, you and Maynard working together. I just like to fly on the wall in all those meetings.
There you go.
I'm all for it. You know what? You just go ahead and figure out a way, boys, to slot me in, and we'll take Akley and you guys with me. You get me on the Joe Rogan show with Maynard, and I'll make this shit happen.
We could. I mean, he's got that vineyard going. If we can get him at least, talking grappa and brandy or something like that, then hey, let's do some whiskey, and come on.
Oh yeah, we can get Maynard involved in this. We can. I can talk dork to Maynard. I can do that. It's okay.
So
I got an Akley question I got to ask.
Sure.
So I have to. So, and as always, mine are always tongue in cheek. So you got the look. This is your look, your thing, right?
Yes.
And so that seems to be a part of the bourbon world. Like if you're going to be a personality in the bourbon world, you got to have a look. I got to ask how you came up with the Tommy Bahama and the goggles. Did Jim Morrison come to you with a weird naked Indian? Did it just like that? You had some stuff in your closet and you're like, fucking, that's better than an ascot or a bow tie. I'm going with that. And I love those guys. Don't get me wrong.
It's a weird evolution. I mean, I've always had Tommy Bahama shirts, but again, I had a corporate job. So I was clean shaven, corporate job, regular glasses, wear Tommy Bahama shirts in my leisure time. But now I don't have that because I own my own company. I don't have to follow those rules. So I like Tommy Bahama all the time. It's comfortable. It's for a big guy like me, they make sizing appropriate. So I've liked it. So that came out of that. And the other thing is I don't have a great face. So I always wanted to wear goggles. I thought that's going to help mask the face a little bit and focus people on the goggles, not on the rest. So, but again, I couldn't have it as a corporate person who interacted with a lot of people because I would just think it's weird. But when I could do my own thing, as soon as I was doing my own thing, I got the goggles I always wanted. So, yeah.
I bet Tommy Bahama writes some fat checks too, Steve. I bet we could roll that into something. Those guys, if they ever wanted to make a bourbon, there you go, right there.
They need they need to step up for sure. I do a lot of promotion for them, that's for sure. And I know for a fact I've gotten people to start wearing their stuff, so it's working. They need to step up.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you're
Steve, the
really,
influencer.
You're really the only advocate out there. I mean, Captain Lou Albino's not on TV anymore. You can't,
right?
You have stepped into some mighty shoes on the Tommy Bahama endorsement.
Exactly. So,
and they should take note.
Yes.
Steve, how do you feel about rum? I mean, just if they're not keen on whiskey, I'm trying to parlay you some money any way we can get you money.
I do like rum. I think it's the spirit that comes closest outside of the bourbon world to whiskey. So yeah, I like the aged stuff when it comes to rum. But yeah, I mean, if that would land me the gig, I mean, I wouldn't go to that full time. I might throw that in there occasionally.
All right. So were you always a big guy? Were you a big kid too, Steve?
Yeah, big kid. Always. There was one guy who was Gary Friedmeyer, who I grew up with, a childhood buddy. He was always bigger than me, but But yes, I was always one of the biggest kids in the class for sure. So
were you also plagued with having Husky on the inside of your pants?
Oh yeah.
I fucking hate it.
My mom was a cheap person. I wrote about that this past week, that how cheap she was. So yes, Husky was emblazoned on the inside of my jeans. So yeah, not fun.
That's a bad club to be in, but
yeah. Yeah, you just got to be funny. That's what I found. If you're funny, you don't care about school, and you just want to be funny, then people will like you no matter what. So that was my default, just to be funny.
So all right. I don't know if you covered this or not, but what do you think is an underrated bourbon?
I mean, the world of my buddies at craft are underrated only because they don't have the amount of distribution that gets it out. So somebody like Alan Bishop, his stuff is as beloved as it is within our group. It needs to be something that everybody's trying.
Mhm.
His stuff blows me away. And the same thing with Stump for Lenny or Royce. I mean, they're doing some amazing things. So that's the people that we try to promote too, because it feels like if you seek it out, there's ways to get this stuff, but you have to get the word out. So that's why it's important what we do, I think, to help them get the word out, because you can do online shipping or people, if you're really into the stuff, either you're traveling to the area or you know someone who is that can pick up something for you. So that's what we're about is because I don't think they're underrated once you try them, but I think overall they definitely are.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we love about the ABV network is if we started with unpretentious, obviously, but if we roll out something that's distillery only and the ABV network guys hear about it, there's like a caravan. All the St. Louis people will get together.
They start taking orders.
They pick one person, usually Rick Brenner or his daughter, and they send them to Spirits of French Lake, and they'll buy a case or 2 cases and cart it back to St. Louis.
And then they do the delivery.
To then divvy up.
And they go to work for Alan then. They're out running around delivering things.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And sometimes, like the last time that Rick was there and picked something up, I wasn't there that Saturday. I think I was out at Locust Grove or something, and I was on Facebook that next Sunday. I'm like, how the hell did everybody in St. Louis end up with this shit? And I'm like, oh, Rick Brenner did another mule trip back over to Spirits of French Lake. That's what's up. So
I need that train running to South Carolina.
Yeah, man, we got to set up a bootleg train going down there for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things when we were talking to other craft distillers that I think everyone, especially in this pandemic, it's starting to push the edge of pulling some of the really dumb and shitty restrictions off of some of the distillers, shipping being one of them. How do you feel? Obviously, I would think you would, but do you support like pulling back some of the restrictions and allowing craft distillers to just basically mail to the average person? Because it's really not cutting into too much of the distributor's problem, because some of their stuff isn't on the shelf yet until you build the demand for it. So I just was wondering how you guys would your take on that for especially the way the year has gone and stuff.
I think it would be fantastic. What I think would be fantastic is if the 3-tier system wasn't set up the way it was, where it would make it easier for somebody like Akley and the ABV network or you guys to do barrel picks and distribute things of your own accord, would be fantastic. And I think you're getting closer to that, if for no other reason. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a giant alcohol lobby, but if for no other reason, it has become incredibly hard for the regulatory agencies to keep up with everything that's happening, because we're overwhelming them with numbers at this point. And I can't imagine working for the TTB and like seeing all the new paperwork coming in every morning on Monday and just go, fuck, really? This shit on Monday? I have to deal with this? And then you sign off on things. I'm not even reading it, just signing off on it at this point. I don't know that that's what's happening, but I feel like that by sheer numbers and sheer popularity, things are going to change in the coming months.
That's just the way you would trust the labels, is putting it in the 5th or 6th time the same way and just hoping they're like, fuck it, it's Monday, I don't care.
Yeah, or it lands on 5 or 6 different desks, and all you need is one guy to say yes. That's all you got to have. One guy.
Yeah, call ahead of time. They say, "Is Larry working today?" All right, good. I've got something to submit.
I'm gonna fax something over.
Yeah.
Right. How quick does he want to get out of the office?
So
you're gonna have him signing things without reading them.
What would you like to see change about the industry, Steve?
I don't think a whole lot. I mean, I feel like the industry, I'd like to, get past obviously COVID and get back to where, just if we can get back to where we were. That's what I'm, want to get to. Right now, it's so difficult because not all distilleries are open, and you can't go there. And we saw this, amazing growth, and people are going to distilleries one out, and they don't get that opportunity. And I don't know what impact that's going to have long term. Obviously we're in this thing deep now, and it sounds like it's going to get worse. what's better, and what's that going to mean to the industry? Not about the alcohol. The alcohol, will be fine, but they built this great thing for us where we can go visit and take tours and all that. What happens to all that kind of stuff? We've heard about all these distilleries, wanting to do places where you could spend the night there and all that. That may be all washed now at this point. I don't know, because you just can't do those type of things now. So if I could change anything, I would like to get rid of COVID and let's get back to going in the upward direction we were headed.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because we really think that distilleries are almost becoming tourist destinations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not only for just people like us, but the way wine and other vineyards and stuff like that and wineries have gone, so has the craft distillery, where it's become a destination and part of a day and a reason you'd go someplace, rather than just that little side trip you might do that when you're in a city. It's more of a purpose for going, because it is such a unique experience even at the big boys and at craft distillers. It really can create a memorable experience for you.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely correct on that. Like, for us in particular too, like we're in a casino town, but it's in the middle of nowhere. But what I can tell you is that if you were to ask the casino, they would tell you that they bring everybody to town. But what I will tell you is, if you stand in our front lobby on a Friday or a Saturday and you ask how many people that are coming in, did you come here for the casino, or are you going to the casino? You'd be surprised by how few of them are there for the casino.
Yeah.
A lot of them are literally traveling there for the distillery and the winery and the calzones that'll put you into a food cult.
Calzones.
So, all right. Speaking of the distilleries being a destination, you've been doing the series for Distiller for a Day. So, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so that's a new thing that we've started. So we've partnered with, I think it's 13 or 14 distilleries now, where you can literally be a distiller for a day, and you get to bring someone with you. So it's actually for two people. So you get to spend the day going into a distillery, working side by side with, and every experience would be different. Matter of fact, it'd be different if you went back to the same place. So, but it's an opportunity to spend an entire day doing the things that distillers do. So we found that things like pump and mash over and things that probably Alan would think are very mundane. People get excited about that kind of stuff when they're not doing that anymore, because they're fans. They want to see the process. They want to see how things work. They want to be involved. They want to say the next time that they're drinking that with their buddies, hey, I helped make some of this stuff. So yeah, it's a cool program. We hope to really build upon it. So we've got a couple that are going to be coming up here. We're going to be taking a lot of photographs and stuff like that to help get the word out about it. We're doing some advertising on Facebook with it, and we think it could be a huge program. We kind of do all the things behind the scenes for the distillery, so it's hands off for them. We coordinate the people, let them know what time to be there. If they want, there's other things they can do, like buy a barrel, an empty barrel, of course. That's amazing to me how many times that comes up too. We got it's $150 and like, so is it full? No, a bottle is like $50. Alan, you got to deal with that stuff all the time. It's amazing to me how $150 are like, oh, so that's full? No, it's empty.
Yeah, the 1 gallon, the one I'm going to sell. Yeah, maybe. But
Yeah,
right. Also, Distiller for a Day is a great program for distillers too, because you can get all kinds of work out of people because they think that stuff that you don't want to do is fun, like Steve said. So for any distiller that's participating this year, what I would say is start them off right. Have them clean the employee toilet. Have them start there and say this is where inspiration starts.
Alan's going to treat you like an intern at his place.
Yeah. Oh, hell yes. Hell yes. Every job I don't want to do.
I do feel like if you're there and you're at a distillery and you're going to spend a day there, you're a customer for life for that distillery. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You've seen the process. You've met the people. You're that distillery from that point forward. So
I'm a hands-on person, so putting my hands on the still or even the mash or the places where that's happening, I remember all that stuff when it happens. It leaves an indelible mark. You're like, I don't know. I feel like you can feel like a little bit of the energy or anything kind of going off, and you can peel from. And if you're putting the work in on it, it means even that much more. I mean,
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
could say maybe that's the stuff you worked on,
Right.
that day.
Yeah. Well, you could do a special one for Spirits of French Lick where you get to be Jolie for a day. And then,
I'll tell you what, I'll put a picture here. If you want to be a whiskey person, Len at Deerhammer, he has the most, his distiller for a day. He will let you choose the mash bill he runs for that day. Even if it's grains he doesn't have, he said you're going to probably come into Denver anyway. He'll send you to the place where he gets his grains, and you can actually pick up some unique grains and just bring them with you to the distillery, and he'll make that run with that stuff that day. I mean, how great! You literally get to create your own whiskey. It's a one-off.
See, and that's the beauty of the ABV network right there. Is you have somebody like Lynn that Steve is hooked up with as well, and I love Lenny. But it's night and day, right? So you go to Lenny's, you pick out the mash bill, you do the whole thing, right? You come to me, I just berate you for 12 hours until I get to go home. That's going to leave an indelible mark too. But I also feel like at the end of the day, you're like, this guy's an asshole, but I'm going to buy a bottle.
We have one place like that up in Wisconsin. There's a couple more opening up stuff like that, but Northern Waters will let you go through the grain catalog, and you can pick all the stuff out you want, and then like the next week when you come up, it'll all be there. You can distill it, and then it'll sit in a barrel, and you can taste it however long you want and let it sit, and whenever you think it's ready, you can pull it up and say, hey, I'm ready for it. So stuff like that is like blow my mind that you're letting me play with your stills for a day. Really, that's what you do.
I think that interactive stuff is a big part of it, and I think that's how Steve and you guys both. I think that's if things don't get better with COVID or whatever, right, for a little while, that's where you're going to really have your time to shine, is in doing those interactive things and bringing people in, and it's a funny industry to be in, and I don't think that I had this until we ended up on the ABV network. I think that Lynn and maybe Royce and Adam would all have the same thing. Like, it seems a little odd that people want to like meet the person that makes their whiskey, right? It's a little strange in some ways, and that didn't happen for us until we got on the ABV network, and then all of a sudden people wanted to like meet the distiller, and I'm like, I don't fucking why?
As long as you stay on that side of the window, that's fine.
Right. Over there. Let me introduce you to our master distiller. This is Odell Bishop. You go talk to him.
Well, I mean, I have to say, I mean, Alan's been on our show, multiple times and interacted, and we've always had a really good time. And I was fortunate that I had a chance to be nearby on a road trip. I'm like, well, I have to stop. And so I brought a friend with me who'd never been on a distillery tour. Mm-hmm. And he was absolutely tickled after the fact. I mean, the whole way back to Kansas City of the time that Alan spent. He's like, that guy, he's got all this other stuff he could be doing. And he took all that time out to do that. And he turned into an immediate fan of Spirits of French Lick. And that was worth it. And that's kind of what I wanted him to do anyway. I mean, he likes whiskey, but he doesn't, I'm helping to make a consumer, but it's like, they're a lot of fun. And I did warn him ahead of time. It's like, all right, I will warn you when you see the interaction with Alan and Jolie, just don't. So right off the bat, he shot me a look right off the bat. I was like, I told you. But I feel
like Akley's had to have that conversation with people too. Like, both y'all are like, listen, before we get there, this guy, I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to say some shit, and you should just let it go.
It's still very adversarial, but I think
it's part of the customer experience.
Yeah, they always say nice things off the record, so
that's right. Yeah.
On the record, though, they're terrible to each other. So,
yeah. But no, that was cool. My friend, he's brought that up multiple times since then about just how cool that was. That, you got to meet someone and learn. He said, and talked about how passionate you were about what you're doing. It's like you could tell he really loves what he does, and it was really cool hearing that and knowing that he had a good time. And I was very appreciative of the time you spent.
Well, that's why these platforms are awesome, because you guys, ABV and you guys both bring in awesome people that are good to talk to, good to hang out with, etc., that we can joke around with. People don't take themselves too seriously. That's if there was one thing I was going to change in the industry, it'd be people who take themselves too seriously, because we're not damn curing cancer or anything here, right? I'm getting you plastered and you're enjoying the flavor, and that's what you got, right?
Oh no! So I almost got in trouble with your unpretentious release when on our video I said it was going for 7,500. There were a few people who were wondering where that was, and I had to be like,
tertiary
really.
market. Tertiary market.
You're
It's
not
a new
keeping
thing.
up on their website, are you?
$5,000 worth right there.
Right.
Look here, boys. Bottle number 1.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
All right.
You reckon that about 10.5 somewhere in there?
Yeah.
I get a nice
That's a new car.
I
Right
get a nice Subaru, something like that, you know.
But yeah, they were really serious. Like, what market was that? Where was? Do you have the group that was in? And I'm like, no.
Patrick,
No, I don't. That was days ago.
2 words. You can convince anybody of anything. All you got to do is say dark web. There's actually a hidden link on the ABV Network website. You got
the dark web, yes.
Yeah, you got to highlight all the texts, and it's like the invisible ink. You know, then at the very bottom right hand side.
Click on that. You'll go where
you got to use the old NES cheat code: up, down, left, right.
I thought it was AB select start, but yeah.
Yes. Nice.
I remember Contra's cheat code. Come on now.
Steve, I've got another question for you.
Sure.
What's the next movie project with Bo? Where are you guys headed next?
So we've got a lot of things in the works. I mean, the big one that we've got approval for, but we haven't been able to do it. COVID times are not letting us get on there. But we want to do a movie about Booker No. So, and they've told us we have full access to all the family stuff, movies, access to interview all the people of Beam that knew Booker No. We want to document that because again, everything goes back to we're just fans. And we want to document those things because once we get them on film, it's preserved and generations down the road can watch it and hear stories about Booker No from people that actually knew him. And he died in 2004. So you're talking about we're getting to a point where those people that knew him, are getting old themselves or retiring or passing away. So yeah, we need to get in there and do that. But we haven't. That was our plan for this year, but we haven't had a chance to work on it.
That just sounds exciting to get all that access to old videos and stuff like that. Sorry, I was a history major before and partially so, which beside the marketing side of things, that really just maybe that's why I like half this stuff is it's half marketing, it's half history for me or history in the making, and that's why I get so damn excited about it. But to be able to piece together some of the old things like that, I could only imagine what you'd see. And man, I feel bad for you and Bo because trying to cut shit like that would take. What he said here was really important, and so was this. Our movie is 4.5 hours long. I
get into that stuff. We got to go for another movie that we did called Blending is Trending. Mm-hmm. We got to go to Booker's old office, which now is Fred Noah's office, and Freddie took us there, and he brought in a little book, chapter 3. This is before it was released or anything like that. We were there filming the summer before it came out. And he loves Tristan. He went over and grabbed those big goblets, and you see all those old photos of Booker. He had the this is his office, those glasses, and they said they kept basically everything. I'm sure those are the same glasses Booker himself was drinking out of. When I get into that stuff, I'm thinking this is the same glass probably Booker was trying some of the original Bookers out of, and I'm going to try Little Book out of that now. 2 generations away, and I don't know, man. I can't get it. I'll continue to do this stuff for the rest of my life. Just for opportunities to do something like that. I mean, as a fan, some of these moments and things that I've been lucky enough to get to do, it just doesn't get better than that.
On that note, what's another memorable one? Because I could, like I said, touching something of history, just imagine like what all went through there and discussion centered around that glass at some point is just mind blowing to me. What would be some other really cool experiences you've had in the past?
Yeah, so I'm friends with Jason Nally, who's the environmentalist for Maker's Mark, and we've known each other for a long time. And he kept saying, hey, if you ever want to go fishing at Maker's Mark, let me know. And I said, fishing? In the lake where they pull the water out of for the bourbon? He's like, yeah, man, come on. So we spent the day, we did a contest. We got to bring somebody with a guy named Paul Rousseau, who's in our group. Now I'm good friends with Paul. I didn't know him when he won, but we met on that trip, and we spent a day out in the woods at Maker's Mark, covering the entire ground. He was showing us all the things that they do environmental wise, how they have expanded by buying an adjacent property, and he showed us that. But we got to go fishing in the lake, and Paul and I both caught a fish. And I don't know, to me, does it get any better than that? This is something people can't do, but every person would want to do. That kind of stuff. It's just, if you can remove yourself from yourself for a moment and just hover above yourself and think, this is happening right now. Stop and enjoy it, and that's the type of things that I try to do when things like that come up. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I do that a lot when I clean the toilet at work.
Get a fish?
Right? Yeah, for sure. Man, Steve, I'll tell you somebody you need to just put a camera on. That's a blast. And we met him through the ABV Network too, and that's Hood Sommelier. He came by the distillery today. Mm-hmm. Dude, somebody needs to put a camera on him and follow him at all times, because this dude is the funnest guy you'll ever hang out with in your life, and he is fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
hilarious.
Yeah. I like that guy a lot. He's a good guy for sure. Yeah. He told me we got that ABV Network coin, and he's just a funny guy. But he told me, Steve, this coin is so great. He says, I pull this out of bars all across the United States when I'm traveling. He's like, I get more ass with this thing than a toilet seat. Where do you come up with that? I don't know. Why is an ABV Network coin helping you with anything? I don't know.
I got to find out which coin he's talking about, because I got one, and I don't think it's the same one.
Right. You gotta get the secret decoder one again. You gotta find that link to the dark web on the ABV Network.
Yeah, he said that on a show that we did, so I'm okay sharing that story. I'm sure. So. Yes.
Oh, he's a hell of a character, and he was right there with me and Jolie, making jokes back and forth, and right in the middle of it. And these three jokers here, they're as bad as I am. They can pretend like they're not. They're as bad, if not worse. And that's why I love them. Steve, the reason I'm on here is because I troll the shit out of their show. Every time they have somebody on, I troll the shit out of it. Not out of disrespect to anybody, but because I like to try to distract them, and it works most of the time. And it is. And usually what happens is you guys will be on like a Wednesday, and it'll be after I've done Distillers Talk, and I'm good and plastered, and I'm ready to talk at that point, right? So I'm just like, oh, they're on. Who's on with them? Can I troll these people and this guy not get mad that they're talking to? And it has brought me great joy for the past several months.
If there's a live event, Alan Bishop has to be on. He's got some contract with the devil or something like that. And I spoke about that. I said, you do one in someone's basement if they want, and I'll be damned if I didn't see one time. He's on folding chairs talking to about 4 guys in the basement. He's standing up there doing a presentation. Blank concrete walls behind him. They're just sitting there on folding chairs. There it is. He will literally do an event anywhere.
He's the Ned Beatty of podcasting.
It's a little known fact that if you have anything that resembles even a generic charcuterie plate and you draw a door and knock 3 times, I will come. I will be there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, so let me ask you a question about the Dusties that you've come up with. What's your best Dusty story?
Best Dusty story. I found a guy who had a couple of bean decanters that he was selling. I contacted him about it, and I said I was interested in that, and so he had me come out and meet him, and he got he's like, I don't know if you want any more, but my grandfather used to own a bar, and he would hang on to these. He personally collected them, and he had 99, and I ended up buying all 99 of those bean decanters off of him for a great price, and ended up sharing a lot of them with friends like Jason at Bourbon's Bistro, and Royce is building a bar at his new house he's building, so I got him a bunch of them. So I ended up getting 99 bean decanters all at once, all from the late 60s, early 70s. So some of the really desirable ones that are, old and distilled in the 50s, and just great stuff. So it doesn't get any better than that. That's a good day at the office for sure.
That sounds amazing. Mike, did you get yours through them or did you get the Dickel one on your own? That was one of the...
No, my wife had gotten that. She
Okay.
had gotten. She used to help out at estate sales, and they they can't legally sell alcohol at estate sales, so they would go ahead of time, and the lady was like, all right, well, if you want it, you can have it for for whatever. Do it, like usually it was a swap. She tried to not have any money change place, but it was a Dickel from the '60s, and the bottle was the one that they had used for Star Trek, the original series, to be Sorry and Brandy. And it was in the box, everything, and holy shit, it was good.
Yes.
it was such good whiskey. Since then, I've got a second one of those bottles, but it was empty when I got it.
That's one of the ones that I had where I've said it before on the channel, but I know how everything changed and whatnot. But when you have something from back then, it was like in the 1960s. I was like, what the fuck happened to George Dickel in the time frame from then until now? And how the hell did you let that happen? It was like a personal anger and hatred for like 35 days. And then I finally let it go. But I was like really upset about it.
Rough 35 days though. Yeah.
It was like a month and a half where I was like, well, why would you fuck with this? Just leave it be. But yeah, so no, I that's like I said before. I think getting the chance to taste some of the Dusties versus today's, some of those things you're doing, it's a fantastic opportunity at a really nice price where it's not. It's late in the stream. I don't care. It's not kicking you in the sack when you go to do it. Some of the other things, there's like you want to try stuff and it's $60-$70 and they'll send you 3 ounces and you're like, well, I'm glad I had it, but I also kind of felt like I went to a bar and had to try Pappy today, and I'm not that excited about what you don't feel so great at the end of the day. So with everything you're doing, it's very reasonably priced, and it's just a really nice experience. So
thank you very much. Yeah, we're really proud of those, and we've usually got about in any month probably 8 to 10. We're doing a lot. So, and I've got. Partnered with some people to bring some different things to these. So, yeah, it's cool.
So what are some of the tastings you've got coming up that still have space in them?
So we've got one coming up with Freddie Noah. We're trying some Old Crow from the 1970s, which will be cool because Freddie will be talking about the company history. And I talked to him. He's like, I got some really good Old Crow information for you. So, which predates even when it was before it was a bean company, which will be cool. Anytime we've had him on, he brings up stuff that you just don't know in the general public. So that's going to be a cool one. We've got tons of different ones. Most of them are still for sale. We usually sell them out, about a week before, typically. Though every once in a while, some just go crazy. We had a tasting coming up of 1988 Bookers. So the first year that it was sold commercially, and that one sold out in a couple hours. So that one did not make it very long. But for the most part, we've got a bunch of different stuff out there. So check them out.
And it leans on you in getting them out if you're waiting until the week before. So congratulations to you on doing that because
the post office definitely is doing a little bit better here recently. So they've been good. They were really rough there for a while. So
anytime you can get Freddie Noah on one of those shows, that guy's legit. When we had him on Distillers Talk, Steve, something else you might look at too. I brought up Old Granddad. I was real curious about Old Granddad, right? And the protocols and how the distillation protocols were different. And man, we went down a rabbit hole on that ordeal about what they did and didn't get whenever they bought that brand, and how the distillation protocols and the yeast were different and all that stuff. So I'm sure the same thing is going to happen with the Old Crow thing. He's going to go deep on that deal and really get into details.
Yeah, we were talking early on. I don't know what time you tuned in, but we were talking about him early on in this thing. And that guy's unbelievable to me because all that, everything that he is because of him. He doesn't have to do those things. In reality, he can get away with being a figurehead, and he's not that at all. He's, he talks to people like Al. He wants to learn more. He knows so much already, but he just wants to learn more and more. So it's cool.
Yeah, he's involved, and I was surprised by that when I brought him on too on Distillers Talk because it was like every distiller has their own language, and so I didn't know how deep into the distilling part of it he was, but it was, we were using different language for different things, but we're both saying the same thing. We both had very similar concepts, and hopefully when COVID calms down, we've talked about doing a little in-person knowledge exchange deal between obviously me going down there and him coming up here, and I would love to see something happen with that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Sell me tickets to that.
I'm just gonna go down there and clean toilets for a day, guys. I'm just letting you know right now.
That's what you'd show up as. I brought these 3 guys to clean your place, and then they just want to sit in the back for an hour.
Right. They'll clean toilets for knowledge.
We got one coming up too, where we're going to try one of those Clifford bottles with the 12, the Elijah Craig with the 12, because so many people, even my buddy Andrew Webrink was like, that taking that age statement off doesn't matter. So we're going to try some of today's Elijah Craig versus 12-year-old age statement. We're going to see. That's the kind of stuff that I love about this. We're going to see. I haven't tried it myself. I've got the bottles here. I'm going to do it with everyone else, and Webrink, who's one of the most respected people in the business. He's an IST guy. You guys should have him on here. He's a great dude, but. He says there's no difference, and we're gonna have a group put that to the test. We'll see.
That's actually pretty exciting. I like stuff like that because I mean, what we say a lot of times. Sometimes people's 2 to 4-year-old stuff, and I would have never said 2-year-old until I started doing more in-depth craft whiskey research. But some people's 2 to 4-year-olds really do trump some other people's 6 to 10-year-olds whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. Gosh, I've been doing this long enough where everything age statement was everything for us, and we were educated by the distilleries, the big distilleries of that. Now they want to back off that, of course. They'd like all those age statements to go away, but we learned that from them. But it's been amazing. It's one of the greatest things out of me to come in and taste. Product that Alan, of course, has everything bottle and bond now, but he didn't when I first knew him. And to taste these younger whiskeys, and same thing with my buddy Royce and Adam Stumpf. It's amazing what people can do these days, and it's not one thing that makes a difference. It's all these little things that add up, and to have the distiller tell you those stories and what each of those little components are is one of the coolest things of whiskey. So it's great.
Yeah, I feel pretty lucky that we live in a time where people care about that stuff and are interested in that kind of stuff. And again, having the platform that you guys have, being able to, I don't necessarily initially have to get those people to my distillery because you guys get me to those people, right? And then once I start talking, then they come to the distillery, and that's been a major play for us. I mean, starting to get into doing all these shows and stuff. The ABV Network and Steve and you guys, that has drawn more people to us than I could have. Jolie and I could work for the next 10 years trying to draw that number of people to us, and I'm not sure that it would happen if it weren't for those platforms. So,
well, you guys are putting yourselves out there a lot more than other people. Okay, so you guys are on your ABV Network, other shows, stuff like that, and other people's channels all the damn time. So
yeah,
you guys, it's distillers like you that put in a lot of the work and are very accessible to people like us that help us out. And we appreciate that. And you, Steve, because you've already given up. I don't even know where the time clock is. An hour and a half of your time tonight. And we know we appreciate how much people do that because, I mean, we all have families. We know that an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes can really be a chunk out of someone's week if you weren't expecting it. Now, we were probably going to drink and have a good time anyway, so we appreciate you being here with us and doing that, which is a big thing. Now, being it's almost about an hour and a half in, I don't know how much later you guys really want to stay on. We don't want to keep you up all night or anything like that. But anyone else here have any other questions for these guys before we would take off? I don't want to stop anyone in the chat or Mike or Ben if you guys have any questions before we took off.
I don't mind. I don't have anything else to do. What am I going to do?
What's the next National Day, Steve? Who's next?
Who's next? Yes, you almost ruined these for us because it's hard to live up to.
Here's the promise that I'll make you. You tell me who's next, and I will ruin that person's day.
This is, the next one we have. I thought about just canceling because I didn't think we could live up to how can we even do this? And the next person that I want to do doesn't have a real social media presence, not into that kind of stuff at all, but somebody who is underappreciated by so much. And we lost our friend Dick Stoll, who Alan knew as well. And I really want to highlight Jerry Dalton, the only non-Boone family member to ever be master distiller of that company. I am lucky enough to know him, to call him a friend, and I want to have Jerry Dalton Day where we highlight him because the funny thing was you just never know who's listening to your stuff. And we did a show early on in the Bourbon Show, which is one of the shows that we do. And we just did a show on Jerry Dalton and his contributions and researched it. And it was good because we all went to work, we researched it, and then we did a show just kind of, this is Jerry Dalton, this is who he is. It just became one of the shows that we did. And about 2 years later, though, I get an email from Jerry Dalton's son saying, my dad found the show online. And in that show, you said you wanted to talk to him. I know it's been a couple of years, but would you like to talk to him? And he's never done an interview. He's never done a print interview. He's never done a podcast. He's never done any of that stuff. He hasn't talked to anyone. He should be in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. The guy was a master distiller of Jim Beam for 9 years. He's not. I don't know what happened at the end with Beam, and I don't know why he's not in the Bourbon Hall of Fame, but he should be. So we got to talk to that man, and that's one of my proudest moments of what we've done because we got to tell his story. From him, he told us that, and I'm proud to call him a friend. He stayed in touch after the fact, and I've got to meet him not only just on the podcast, but go out to a breakfast with him. And he's a great man. And so the next day, following up Alan Bishop, is going to be National Jerry Dalton Day.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
I respect that. That's pretty good. All right, we do have a couple questions from the chat. My wife will throw a couple. What are you guys drinking, or what is Steve drinking right now?
Right now, it's I did switch over to unpretentious. So,
Okay. Well, that's fair. I like that.
That's what I've got now. A nice pour of that.
All right. And Jolie is wondering, what is your Steve's go-to bourbon?
My go-to bourbon is whatever strikes me at that moment. Man, I just love staring at all my bourbon bottles and deciding what I'm going to get for that day. And, the funny thing is sometimes it's in a mood to keep pouring that the rest of the night. Other times it's like every glass is a different one. So love the one you're with, like that song. That's the one that I like. So it's my favorite bourbon of that time. So right now, since that's what I'm drinking, my all-time favorite bourbon is.
Just think you probably poured $300 just now.
Exactly.
Right. We've heard stories of people pouring unpretentious at this point, and what they do is they actually feel so guilty about it that they donate to charity for every glass that they pour. Charity is your choice.
They sponsor somebody. Sponsor a kid.
All right. Alan and Steve, what are your favorite whiskeys that aren't made in the United States?
Glengoyne is my probably my favorite whiskey of all time. So
I just poured Mike a sample of the 21 this week to send to him, so I'm not gonna argue that.
Even on the young side, even the 10-year Glengoyne, yeah. If I buy it, I'm drinking it all in one go. It's not going to stick around long.
I don't delve into a whole lot of whiskey outside of the U.S., but I did. We had Dr. Don Livermore on from Canada, and he said try lot 40, and I tried that, and I thought that was good. I thought that was a bourbon drinker's Canadian whiskey for sure. So I don't, like I said, I don't have a lot of experience, but I did try that one, and I did like it, and I would recommend that one if you're looking for something a little different.
Was it the cask strength version?
Yeah, the cask strength version. Yes.
Okay, well that we have several friends from Canada and other places that all ringingly endorse that.
Yeah, I had a guy pick me up a bottle of that in Canada and bring it down to me. So that was perfect. And when I tried that, I like this. This tastes familiar. I like it.
It's a shame we don't have Canadian Akley's contact info, because then we could have
exactly.
Nice little smuggling ring here.
Not for a while, but yeah.
I don't even care what the guy's real name is. His name could be Ralph. I'd call him Canadian Akley.
Yeah, I think that's what he goes by now. So.
Yes.
Little do you know that is his nickname up there.
The funny thing is, all of Canada, that guy turns out to be, he's from the same town, Renee Howe, who I podcast with. He's in the same town as her, which is weird. Yeah.
That's cool. Sorry,
Yes.
I know her name. That's cool.
Yeah, so, and she's not, it's not like it's Toronto, it was Kitchener, Waterloo. So, small area.
So there's a chance we can make this happen.
Yes, yeah.
We just have to wait till the COVID thing is done.
Right, exactly.
We need more mules to be able to cross the border and,
Yeah.
and get back to their original country.
The mule, yeah, trust me, the mules are antsy because I'm one of them.
Okay. Hey, well, I appreciate that. That is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I don't want to keep everyone on the show super late tonight. We do know Whiskey Crusaders is on right now. We have another channel that kind of comes on right after us. We don't want to elbow into them too horribly too much because we do that frequently. That's because we're having a good time. But Mike, Ben, thank you for always coming on and coming up with great questions and taking the lead tonight, Mike. Thank you very much. I got to sit back tonight and that was fucking awesome.
It was fun. It was easy.
And Alan, thanks for stopping in and kind of sneaking in there. I appreciate it. Steve, I mean, your wealth of knowledge is nowhere near done. If you ever want to come back on, we would tap you for all sorts of different stuff that you are doing and that you have coming up. And speaking of that, before, do you have anything you want to plug about the ABV Network to the wonderful people out there still left in the stream?
Yeah, I mean, just check us out, abvnetwork.com. That's the place to go. Everything that we do is out there. We've got over 2,000 shows out there for you to listen to. We've got our virtual bourbon events. You just click on that. We've got live events that we do. You can click on that and check it out and learn more about us and reach out. If you send an email in, McNeil will respond to you. So, yeah, say hello. Say hello.
Oh, that was fantastic. And thank you guys for coming on tonight. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes.
But like I said, it is getting towards the end of the night. So remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey. Cheers, everyone out there.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3.